The National Football League just felt the ground shake with a seismic shift that changes absolutely everything for the Miami Dolphins coaching search. The legendary Mike Tomlin has officially stepped down after 19 historic seasons in Pittsburgh, and while the media is screaming about television deals, the insiders are whispering something much more explosive. Miami is the prime landing spot. Before we dive into this chaos, do me a massive favor and smash that like button, share this with a fellow fan, and hit subscribe so you don't miss a single update in this wild offseason. Let's be real for a second. Yesterday wasn't just a normal news day. It was an era-ending event. When Mike Tomlin walked away from the Steelers, Twitter didn't just react. It melted down. The immediate question on everyone's lips was simple. What is next? Is he headed to a broadcast booth? Or is he stalking the sidelines for a new franchise next season? And inevitably, all eyes turned to South Florida. We have to address the elephant in the room immediately. The reporting is split, and it is fascinating. On one side, you have heavy hitters like Adam Schefter suggesting that Tomlin is absolutely locked in for a TV gig, likely taking a year off to recharge his batteries before potentially returning to the league in 2027. That sounds logical, right? But then you have the other side of the coin. Reporters like Tom Pelissero dropped a bombshell within 30 minutes of the news breaking, stating that Miami makes a terrifying amount of sense for Tomlin right now. We have been down this road before. Think back to 2007, right before the Steelers dynasty truly took off under his watch. Miami had him in the building. We almost hired him. We passed, and the rest is history. The fact that we are circling back to this possibility nearly 2 decades later feels like destiny knocking on the door. But here is the most intriguing part of this entire saga, and it says a lot about where this organization's head is at. Sources are leaking that the reason the Dolphins felt comfortable moving on from Mike McDaniel wasn't just about performance. It was about the confident knowledge that they could land a bigger fish. It's not a surprise that owner Stephen Ross is big game hunting. We know that is his style. But the audacity to fire a coach because you believe you can snag a Mike Tomlin or a John Harbaugh shows a level of aggression we haven't seen in years. However, and this is a massive however, there is a complication that could ruin the whole dream. Because Tomlin stepped down and wasn't fired, the Steelers still hold his contractual rights. If Miami wants him, we have to trade for him. This brings me to a pivotal moment of frustration. I have to be honest with you guys, I despise the idea of trading draft capital for a head coach. I know. People will point to Sean Payton in Denver or John Gruden in Tampa Bay and say it works. But in my core, I just cannot get behind sending a first-round pick to another team for a guy who doesn't play a single snap. Can you honestly tell me that there isn't a candidate in the open pool who is just as good, if not better, that doesn't cost us the future of our roster? If the proposal was swapping picks, say, we give them the 11th pick and get Tomlin plus their 21st pick. Okay, maybe we can have a conversation. But giving up a standalone first-round pick? I am out. But this isn't about what I want. It's about what you think is best for the franchise. So, here is the question of the day. If Mike Tomlin is willing to come to Miami, but the cost is our first-round draft pick, do you pull the trigger? I want you to go down to the comments right now and type T if you make that trade, or type P if you pass. I'm serious. I want to see where this fan base stands on mortgaging the draft for a head coach. Now, let's pivot to the other titan on the wish list, John Harbaugh. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. While reports from Josina Anderson link Harbaugh to the top of Miami's list, I am going on the record to say I do not think we land him. It pains me to say it, but we have to be realistic. Does Harbaugh consider Miami a top 5 job? Absolutely. But look at the competition. You have reports flying around that the New York Giants are all in on him, willing to meet every single demand. You have Diana Rossini reporting that his finalists are likely the Giants, the Falcons, and the Titans. Why them and not us? It comes down to resources. Those teams have significantly more draft capital and better salary cap situations over the next year. Sure, Miami opens up over $100 million in space in 2027, but if Harbaugh wants to win instantly in 2026, those other rosters offer a cleaner path. The Titans have the cap and a young quarterback in place. The Falcons have weapons like Bijan Robinson and Drake London and a defense that was top 10 last year. Miami is an appealing job, do not get it twisted, but for a guy with Harbaugh's resume, the roadblocks here might just be too high compared to New York or Atlanta. We also need to talk about who Miami has actually sat down with, because this is where the anxiety starts to kick in for me. On Tuesday, the Dolphins officially interviewed former Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. On paper, the guy is a two-time coach of the year. He took Cleveland to the playoffs. But if you dig deeper, does this really feel like an upgrade? I look at his time in Cleveland, and aside from the quarterback disaster, which is a whole other story, the on-field product had serious flaws. Their rushing offense fell off a cliff without Nick Chubb. They were plagued by pre-snap penalties and illegal procedure calls. Their special teams were abysmal. Does that sound familiar? It should, because those are the exact same issues we just spent years complaining about with Mike McDaniel. To me, Kevin Stefanski is eerily similar to the coach we just fired. Even their philosophies align in the worst ways. McDaniel backed Tua Tagovailoa to the bitter end, and Stefanski banged the table to trade for Deshaun Watson, which turned out to be a catastrophic move. If we hire Stefanski, we are just recycling the same frustrations. I don't know about you, but I am not here for Mike McDaniel 2.0. We need a culture shock, not a lateral move. We also have to discuss the Rooney Rule and the defensive coordinator candidates, because this gives us a hint at the timeline. The Dolphins have requested interviews with Jesse Minter, Kelvin Shepherd, and Patrick Graham. Now that these requests are out, once Miami completes interviews with two minority candidates, the Rooney Rule is satisfied, and they can make a hire instantly. Let's look at Kelvin Shepherd. He's a former Dolphins linebacker, retired around 2018, and shot up the coaching ranks in Detroit. He replaced Aaron Glenn as the Lions DC in 2025. He's young, he's liked, and he's an up-and-comer. But the Lions defense wasn't exactly elite this past season. Do I think he's the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins? No. This feels like due diligence. They want to turn over every stone. Then you have Patrick Graham, the Raiders DC. He's 46, never played in the league, but started coaching way back in 2004. Remember, he was our DC back in 2019 under Brian Flores. The man has survived multiple regimes in Las Vegas. Josh McDaniels, Antonio Pierce, they all kept him. That tells you he is respected in the locker room. He's been everywhere. Giants, Packers, Patriots. He is a solid football mind. But again, is he the splash hire Stephen Ross is looking for? Probably not. So where does that leave us? We have 9 total interview requests on the board right now, including Jeff Hafley from the Packers. We've got virtual interviews lined up and in-person meetings scheduled. But I want to circle back to what I would do if I were sitting in the general manager's chair. Since I don't believe Harbaugh is coming, and I refuse to trade a first-round pick for Tomlin, who is the guy? I have said it before, and I will say it again. Robert Saleh is my number one option. Yes, things ended poorly in New York, but look at the context. He took a horrible Jets defensive unit and turned them into a top 10 beast for consecutive years. His issue was always the offense. Zach Wilson, the Aaron Rodgers injury. He never had a chance to field a competent attack. If you bring in Saleh to fix this soft culture and pair him with a brilliant offensive mind, you have a Super Bowl recipe. And who is that offensive mind? Keep an eye on Nate Shilhasa, the offensive coordinator for the Rams. He is an up-and-comer in his late 30s, groomed in that McVay-Shanahan system. He's currently the pass game coordinator in Los Angeles. You pair Saleh's defensive intensity with Skilhace's offensive innovation, and suddenly, you have a balanced, terrifying team. My personal top 5 right now, stripping away the unlikely dream candidates, looks like this: Robert Saleh at 1, Jesse Minter at 2, Chris Shula at 3, Clint Kubiak at 4, and Jeff Hafley rounding out the top 5. I think Saleh is the perfect plan B if Harbaugh is off the table. He brings the grit and toughness this team has been lacking for decades. We are in the thick of it now, folks. The interviews are happening, the rumors are flying, and the future of this franchise is being decided as we speak. I need you to stay locked in because this news is changing by the hour. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.